Question 1. M squared minus 5m minus 14 equals 0. In this equation, we're trying to figure out what x is, or in this case, m. There are two ways to figure out what m is. By either using the x method, which is simpler, but also doesn't work every single time, or the quadratic formula, which works 100% of the time, but just takes longer to do. If we were going to plug it into the x method, we would need to plug in negative 14 as c and b, which is negative 5 in the bottom, which should look like this. Negative 14 on top and negative 5 on the bottom. In these two blank spaces, we're trying to figure out what times what equals negative 14, but also what plus what equals negative 5. If you do it correctly, you should get this. Negative 7 and 2. But once you put them in as x minus 7 and x plus 2, it'll be flipped, so the answer will be x equals 7 minus 7 and negative 2. But if we were going to use the quadratic formula, which is x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, 8 times c, divided by 2a, you will need to plug in all the numbers and you should get this. X equals 5 plus or minus the square root of negative 5, parentheses negative 5 squared, minus 4 times 1 times negative 14 divided by 2. If you simplify these numbers, you should get this. X equals 5 plus or minus the square root of 81 divided by 2. And once you plug in the square root of 81 in your calculator, you should get this. 5 plus 9. There's two answers because it was a plus or minus. So there's two answers in this equation. So it's going to be x equals 5 plus 9 divided by 2, which will equal 7. Or x equals 5 minus 9 divided by 2, and you'll get negative 2.